Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
As we deepen into our service, let us set the tone for this service with a reading, An Affirmation of Hope by Loretta Williams. We, bearers of the dream, affirm that a new vision of hope is emerging. We affirm that we are the co-creators of the future, not passive pawns. And we stand united in affirmation of our hope and vision of a just and inclusive society. We affirm brotherhood and sisterhood that allows us to touch upon each other's humanity. Within ourselves and within the gathered community, we discover the strength not to hide in indifference. Affirming that hope, publicly expressed, energizes and enables us to move forward. Together, we pledge action to transcend barriers, be they racial, political, economic, social, or religious. We pledge to make our tomorrows become our todays. Now we will light the chalice. We join Unitarian Universalists all over the world in lighting our chalice, a symbol of the spark of life in each of us. Our chalice words this morning are entitled The Hope of a Small Flame. We're not saints. We are not heroes. Our lives are lived in the quiet corners of the ordinary. We build tiny hearth fires, sometimes barely strong enough to give off warmth. But to the person lost in the darkness, our tiny flame may be the road to safety, the path to salvation. It's not given to us to know who is lost in the darkness that surrounds us, or even if our light is seen. We can only know that against even the smallest of lights, darkness cannot stand. A person lost in wood can be led to safety by a flickering flame. It's not an issue of quality or intensity. It's simply an issue of the presence of light. Jason Grueneich. He's the founder and executive director of Shine Bright and Live, North Dakota's only nonprofit organization dedicated solely to the HIV community. Born out of Jason's vision of health justice, compassion, and empowerment, Shine Bright and Live has become a catalyst for advocacy, education, and community building in this state. As someone living with HIV, Jason grounds his leadership in lived experience, ensuring that the voices of those directly impacted stay at the heart of his organization's programs, policies, and partnerships. As facilitator of the North Dakota HIV Board, the North Dakota HIV Advisory Board, Jason helps guide our state's integrated HIV prevention and care planning. This work has included partnering with national advocates and foundations to elevate rural HIV voices and working closely with our state leaders to modernize this state's HIV laws. He also helped develop the state's HIV peer navigation program. Through Shine Bright and Live, Jason launched the Shine Out Loud HIV Speakers Bureau to expand HIV education among medical groups and in rural communities. He shares his expertise at conferences across the country, where he has spoken on the unique challenges and opportunities facing people living with HIV in rural states. Jason's mission is clear: to rise, unite, and ignite communities, shaping a future where every North Dakotan has access to compassionate care, accurate education, and a stigma-free path to wellness and health, so that they can shine bright. Would you please help me welcome Jason Grueneich?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. I appreciate that, Karen. So we're gonna have some fun today. I've shared quite a bit over this last year about Shine Bright and Live, and I have a talk that I was going to give, and then late last night, something that Sonda had mentioned just wouldn't leave me. And so I rewrote everything, and I'll be sharing from a paper a little more than I would just casually talking with you. So, just a few things before we roll into this. I have a very special place here, and I've only been here once before. I just recently walked through a grief, loss, and music retreat out in Pennsylvania, learning how to sing through grief in community and fellowship, and walk through and call out what grief means, and walk through my own death process, which I've never imagined or done before. And since leaving there, numerous of the fellow people who were there have reached out to me, recommending that maybe I seek out Bismarck UU as a place that would welcome me as I walk through this journey. And I've always known that the Bismarck UU has a special place in our community, and just to find that connection through other Unitarian Universalists who experience the grief retreat with me is special to me. So I'm very grateful to be here today. So on that note, good morning, friends, and blessed winter solstice. I invite you, if you're comfortable, to place your feet on the floor and take a slow breath in and a long breath out. As we gather on this winter solstice morning, notice the light around you and the light within you. This is a day of balance, a day of turning, a moment where darkness and light meet. Take a moment to silently name something from this past year that you are ready to release. A weight, a fear, a story that no longer serves you. And now, gently bring to mind something you are willing to carry forward. A hope, a connection, a small spark of possibility. Know that you do not have to carry it alone. Across time and cultures, people have gathered on this day to remind one another. The night may be long, but the light is returning. Take one more breath in and one more breath out. When you're ready, bring your attention back to this space and to one another. We are gathered here this morning at a sacred in-between moment. The sun has already risen, and tonight will be the longest night of the year. Across traditions, this day has never been about denying the darkness. It's about recognizing that we are standing at a turning point. The light has not fully returned, but it has begun. Solstice teaches us something deeply spiritual, that change often starts quietly, that hope doesn't arrive all at once, and that even when the night still feels long, the direction has shifted. This morning, I want to reflect on that turning, on light, remembrance, and the work of carrying one another through the longest nights. In many solstice and Yule traditions, this is a time of reflection, a time to look back at what we've survived, a time to honor what we have lost, and a time to name the grief we may still be carrying. Spiritually, this season invites us to tell the truth. Some of us arrive joyful. Some arrive weary. Some arrive holding both at once. This darkness, the darkness, is not a failure. It's a part of a cycle, a time of rest, gestation, and of becoming. That understanding that darkness is not an ending but a necessary passage has shaped my life and my work in profound ways. Shine Bright and Live was born in a season of darkness. It was created in memory of my partner of 15 years, Johnny, whom I lost in 2023. Someone whose light changed me and whose absence has reshaped my world. Grief has a way of narrowing time. It can make days feel endless and nights feel unbearable. But many spiritual traditions remind us that love does not disappear. It transforms. That memory itself becomes a form of light. And that carrying someone forward can be an act of devotion. Shine Bright and Live began exactly as that. A commitment to carry light forward when it would have been easier to retreat inward. It became a way to honor a life through serving others. A way to say that loss would not have the final word. A way to turn grief into community and community care. One of my favorite solstice images is the procession of light. We watched that today. One candle is lit, then another, then another. No single flame chases away the darkness alone, but together they make the night navigable. That image mirrors the spiritual foundation of Shine Bright and Live. We believe healing happens in relationship, that dignity is restored through connection, and that no one should be expected to navigate diagnosis, stigma, or systems alone. Our work is about walking beside people, not ahead of them, not above them, but with them. So what does that look like in practice? Shine Bright and Live supports individuals and communities impacted by HIV through education, care, advocacy, and storytelling. Through Shine Out Loud, our HIV Speakers Bureau, lived experience is honored, protected, and amplified in churches, schools, conferences, and community spaces. We provide direct care. So far, we've supported over 50 individuals living with HIV in North Dakota through grocery and gas cards, rental assistance, winter clothing, work boots, scrubs, connection to mental health services, covering CNA fees so people can step into new opportunities in life. We gather community through events like Lights Across the Prairie, our World AIDS Day observance, which raised over $2,500 for direct care and support. And we are rolling out an in-person HIV group for people in Bismarck, Mandan, and surrounding areas so we can gather in fellowship and community. And we work at the systems level, helping modernize North Dakota's HIV laws, and now partnering with advocates in South Dakota to look into doing the same. At its core, our work is about helping people feel seen, valued, supported, and worthy, especially during moments that feel isolating or overwhelming. We don't just respond to crisis. We help people prepare for the long nights, and remind them that they don't face them alone. Spiritually, Solstice reminds us that growth is often incremental. Tomorrow will only be slightly brighter than today, and yet the promise is real. This mirrors the work of healing, justice, and community care. Progress is rarely dramatic, though I think I am at times, but it is faithful. Every conversation, every shared story, every barrier lowered, every person reminded of their worth. These are small flames, but together they change the night. As we stand at this turning point between the longest night and the return of light, I offer a gentle invitation. Shine bright and live is not something you simply observe. It is something you can walk alongside. You can carry this light forward by sharing compassionate, accurate information, by listening to lived experience, by connecting others to care, or by supporting this work through partnership, volunteering, or simply spreading the word like this. I do have to also say, you're my first faith-based or spiritual talk in the state of North Dakota. So, you're the start of many. After I got the invitation here, it's as if the door opened. I'll be out in Ray and Epping and Linton and all of the backwoods of North Dakota in this coming year. So you don't need to be an expert. You don't need all the answers. You only need a willingness to show up with care. And it is in that shared tending of one another, the tending of truth and the tending of hope, that the light truly returns. As we come to the close of this moment together, may we remember that light is not just a symbol. It is something we do. May we trust that remembrance can become action, that compassion can shape policy, and that community can carry us through the longest night. May you leave here knowing you are part of this turning as a listener, a witness, and a bearer of light in ways both seen and unseen. Blessed be the darkness. Blessed be the work. Blessed be the light that returns because we chose to carry it together. And with that spirit of openness, I'm happy to receive your questions. Thank you. So I was born here in Bismarck, left in 1999, ended up moving to Fargo, then down to Fargo, then Minneapolis, then Jackson, Mississippi for a while, and back up to Minneapolis for about 18 years. During that time, I struggled with substance use disorder, alcoholism, houselessness. I was a sex worker. During that period is when I found out that I was HIV positive in 2006. And that really kind of threw my life for a loop. In 2016, I ended up moving back to Bismarck, where I was seeking recovery. My partner was seeking recovery out in Minneapolis, and then he eventually joined me here. It's never expected I would be standing in front of you talking about starting a nonprofit or sharing the story of my life. I was the person that wasn't invited around more often than not because of how I led my life. I really struggled with finding a spiritual basis for navigating life. I grew up fundamentalist Baptist and kind of left or was ejected from that faith in my late teen years, early 20s. And so I just kind of was a ship lost at sea. And so upon coming back to Bismarck in 2016, I really kind of went back into the closet with my HIV status. The state is a little more conservative, if you haven't noticed. And so I was just really concerned how it would affect my navigating a career as I was trying to start over in life in recovery. And so for the first year back, I really just kind of dug in and was rebuilding my life and making reconnections with community. In 2017, I had a friend who had just gotten out of paramedic school who called me petrified, talking about how he was down in a small town and the patient they were helping had AIDS and they had spit at them and he was scared he had AIDS now. And that was in 2017. And so it really frightened me that someone could get out of paramedic school and still have outdated education and information on HIV. So that's really when I kind of jumped in and did some of the work that Karen had talked about with the HIV advisory board and developing the peer navigation program. And throughout that whole time, I kept looking for someone to start an HIV nonprofit because I've never done that. And so thought maybe someone with some experience might want to try this, and nobody bit. And as time went on, I just realized it really was something that our state needed. As we built that peer navigation program, we realized that stigma was starting to reduce within the community of people living with HIV. The internalized stigma that we carry is put upon us, and we don't even realize it. Me not wanting to talk about my status for fear of it ruining my career opportunities is stigma. I mean, I remember I went to get a massage when I first moved back. And when I lived in Minneapolis, anytime on the medical intake form, you have HIV, yep, not a problem. Why is this on a massage? I don't know, but I'm used to telling the truth and just answering, and was told to lay down on the table. They'd be in. Just nice and dark, beautiful music. I'm all relaxed. And the door opened and I heard plastic, like a garbage bag. And I was like, well, that's really weird. I've never heard that. So I lifted my head and peeked, and the massage therapist was in a full plastic gown with rubber gloves on to give me a massage. And so it was little things like this that I realized, in my heart of hearts, I have to believe that people are not intentionally trying to stigmatize. It's just a lack of exposure and education. And so here we are. It's igniting the community to be bold, be proud of who they are, and that no matter who you are, you have worth. And so we really are trying to get that across. And we face a lot of pushback, and so it's time. It's time to just keep pushing forward. Yeah. So at this point, we were founded in 2024, opened the doors in 2025. I have an office currently out at McCabe Methodist Church, which is my home church, just on the south side of the Capitol. They rent me an office space. So far, we've served over 340 people, but our goal is to reach 331 people that are not in case management. And so in the state, there's roughly 671 people living with HIV at the last kind of data statistics that they pulled. Half of them are in case management and care management, and the other half are not. And the way it's funded, our public health nurses who do an outstanding case management job don't have the time to find out why the other half are not in service. And a lot of the time it comes down to substance use disorders, mental health concerns, houselessness issues. And so really Shine Bright and Live came out of that. We want to be able to go out and find the people who aren't in case management and find out why. Maybe they just choose not to be, which is their choice, but a lot of the times it's barriers that are put in place. So a standard day for me usually looks like probably 3 national meetings on Zoom in the morning. We are facing the first time ever funding cuts for HIV proposed coming into 2026. For the first time in 4 decades, they're looking at a $2 billion cut in funding, which we've never ever faced. It's been a bipartisan support throughout the last 4 decades to take care of HIV and public health in our country. We knew it was coming when we saw them dismantle PEPFAR through USAID, which was our international HIV help and funding. And we didn't think it would be this crazy, but the beautiful thing is I've had a year. A lot of friends have told me this was the worst year for you to start a federally funded nonprofit. I think it's the best year. So we're facing things we've never faced before, and people are scared and they need reassurance and they need community.
So if you would share maybe one or two things that you hear a lot, like that's misinformation that we could carry with us and, share.
The biggest thing I think people that I have ran across is there's a lack of understanding of you equals you, which means undetectable equals untransmissible. I'm a person living with HIV. So long as I stay on my medication regimen, my HIV medications, my viral load of HIV in my blood is undetectable. It's so low that it's no longer detectable, which means I no longer can transmit it to someone else. And that's something that science hasn't really caught up or become standard knowledge. And it's through lack of exposure to someone living with HIV. So at this point, if we don't have a cure for HIV yet, though COVID vaccines really pushed us forward into possibly moving towards a cure or help in this. If we can maintain medication adherence, it stops transmission at the person. And so the biggest barriers are poverty, housing, mental health, and substance use disorders. And so that's a really major thing that a lot of people don't fully understand.
And I'll extinguish the chalice with some closing words, some words from Krista Tippett, which I remember. She's now a public radio podcaster, and she uses them to introduce a program that she gave on Hope on May 29th of this year. The hope that interests me looks the world full on. It looks reality right in the face, and it refuses to accept that things have to be this way. And then this orientation of hope throws one's intelligence, one's energy, one's persistence, one's creativity and courage behind that insistence.
Put a little love in your heart. Put a little love in your heart. You want the world to